Yes. All right. Hi, everyone. Quick housekeeping. Obviously, there's food, drink out in the lobby there. Please try to keep it neat and tidy. Toilets are outside of the front entrance, second right. It's down the corridor. And emergency exit is to the right of the elevators. And in the case of emergency, we do meet down there in the southwestern corner of the lawns. Quick acknowledgement of country. So, yeah, we are meeting on the original lands of the Kaurna people, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. All right, so welcome everyone to the Adelaide Microsoft IT Pro Community Meetup for September 2025. If you've not met us before, we are Andrew O'Young. I'm a lead co-pilot and security architect at Infomotion.
And hi everyone, I'm Shehan. I'm also Microsoft MVP in security, specializing in identity and access, that's Entra and Intune device management. I'm working as a architect in identity and endpoints at Bastion Technology Services. And that's my QR code for my link tree, and there you can find me everywhere in the socials, especially my blog, emsroute.com, as well as in LinkedIn as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and thanks again to Microsoft for hosting us and letting us actually come here and present to you guys. Systema Tech for keeping us afloat, and obviously the food and refreshments from yours truly. All right, slight awkward. Cool, so what's been happening? Last week there was an event in Adelaide. It's not often we get Microsoft events down here. So this was the Cloud and AI Innovate Summit. Again, it was government focused, but it was still open to some members of the public. So it's just around the Azure side of AI and data and so on. Whereas the other event we had previously was around creating agents with Copilot Studio. All in all, I think for me, the highlight was really seeing an AI-generated version of Simon Shaney as a clown or as a superhero. That has not been shared anywhere else, so yeah. Okay, and he does not know I'm sharing it. Cool, so we'll get into what's new and what's coming. I'll try and get through this as quick as possible so you can hear more about Shehan's presentation. But in M365, there's a new SharePoint template gallery now that's generally available, so different types of pages and sites and so on, and you can easily access this through the usual venues that you go to create a page, so site home, app bar, and the news web part. As part of that, they're also doing a showcase blog series, so every month there's going to be a new tech community post with what's new, what are new designs and so on, and events that are coming up. We've got threading and Teams channels. Expecting some more sounds of disdain or excitement, but finally we can now kind of do more with the channel posts. Still, I expect people are going to create new posts instead of replying, so it's not going to solve that the age-old problem, but it's something, right? And yeah, Project Online is retiring in about a year's time. So this doesn't affect your on-prem or other variants of Project, just this one. And they're kind of rolling it into Planner Premium. So if you're using the Project Online products, they've got some options to kind of migrate off of it and ensure that you're not too impacted when the retirement happens. This is just overnight, so M365 Copilot Chat is now available in your M365 apps, so the embedded experience. This does not mean you get the fancy Gen AI stuff. This is just you get to talk to Copilot on the right-hand side. So it's the web-grounded bit. So just same as if you were signing in with your account without a license, it's the free online version. So it's just so that you don't have to context switch as much. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I feel anyway. Anyone that's still running Exchange servers on-prem, in hybrid particularly, we've got latest update. There is now another step towards removing that last Exchange server. The last update we had was in April 2022, and that was you can now use Exchange management tools on another server, so you can get rid of that Exchange server. Now there is a new control using PowerShell. You can set the mailbox attribute to be is Exchange Cloud managed, and this allows you to manage those attributes from Exchange Online or Entra ID. So that's just the first phase. The second phase will be the write back part. So it will sync back down on-prem. So if you've got any attributes in AD, they will now be syncing both ways. So it's going to help eventually weaning off of having a hybrid server on-prem. Another change, if you are playing with random tenants and spinning them up and sending emails externally, there's going to be a new throttling limit. So you're only going to be allowed to send 100 emails externally per organization in a 24-hour rolling window. People will be trying to still take advantage of that and send out spam. And part of the hybrid exchange environment, they are expecting you to use a new dedicated app. So there's going to be a 40-hour kind of break in this. So from tomorrow, well, actually, no, today, this afternoon, if you do not have this latest app, or if you have not got your Exchange server updated to at least the April update, it's going to cause some issues with your on-prem mailboxes not being able to see certain information in the cloud. So just be wary of that. If you are using hybrid, you have the latest app and updates. And there's a bit of a roadmap, but they expect to retire the Exchange web services by 2026. Is this more your thing, or
So VSA or Global Secure Access has got like 3 forwarding profiles that you can use. Like it's SASE based. That's Entra or Microsoft SASE product. So this is private access. Now you can install a like a domain controller, like an agent in the domain controllers, and it will act like it will actually help you to complete your Kerberos authentication and stuff like that. If a client is trying to authenticate from a remote location by connecting to SASE or Entra Private Access. So that's in preview at the moment. So you need to install that agent in all of your domain controllers that you want the devices to be authenticated from. So yeah, so that's what's new in Entra.
Good, because I did not read up on it enough to be able to speak like that to it. But yeah, all part of that zero trust network access. It's really cool what's happening there. Windows and devices, so there's now cross-region disaster recovery for your Windows 365 frontline dedicated mode. So if for some reason that region's data centers just horribly go down, you can spin up images of your Windows 365 cloud PCs from another region. So just more high availability. Just another bleak reminder, Windows 10 official end of support or end of life is next month. And if you're interested, there's a Windows 11 roadmap. So you can find out what's coming, what to prepare for in before Windows 12. Yeah. And this is also another new thing from the security side of things. You can now protect your Copilot Studio agents using Defender, or more so, it's behind the scenes. It will pick up certain things. So in this behind the scenes here, you've got the kind of the attack story. So this is a agent tool invocation attempt being blocked. So on the last image, I can go back here. Someone's trying to ask the agent, "Oh, give what are the requests from customers?" Whereas that's just an assistant or virtual assistant that's going to help you about other things. You've gone in asking, "Oh, give me some of this, sensitive information," and it's blocked it because it's detected specific behaviors or tones, or you trying to do a prompt injection attack as it's done here. So it's picked it up, it's blocked it. So it actually halts the agent from processing anymore. So you're stopping any chance of further data extraction in that way. So it's good to see that coming. Security training. There are Ninja training out there per Microsoft security product. So if you're interested, you can check that out. It's a cloud native app protection policies book as well. And from a learning point of view, I heard some of you guys talking about fundamental exams out there. There is a certification refresh coming. So the MS 900, so the M365 fundamentals, is getting retired at the end of the year. That is alongside the Dynamics CRM and ERP. So the MB 910 and 920, those will retire December 31st or January 1 our time. And there will be a couple of new exams. They're going to be AI first, AI focused. There'll be a new fundamentals and hopefully an expert level cert. So keen to see what that's like. And if you're interested, you can find out all the different Microsoft credentials from these two links here. But essentially there's applied skills, which is the free 2-hour assessments. And then you've got the certifications poster, so you can see all of the different exams and what the prerequisites are and what they lead to. And if you're interested in creating agents, there are a couple of resources there for you. I'd particularly go for the Agent Academy, so aka.ms/agent-academy. You will get a cool raccoon, or Bits is its name. You get a little badge for the recruit course once you complete it, but gets your hands dirty with creating agents and the data sources that are needed to power them. And if you're into that Azure side of things, there are actually course blueprints. So I believe you can create your own journey in learning Azure, but they're saying now, well, they're recommending to pair that with Copilot so that you can get some insights into where you should be going in terms of your skilling journey. So might be a good opportunity to test that out. And for the information protection people in the room, Microsoft Purview, there's a ninja training course on Microsoft Learn. So it's a handy little link for you as well. I don't think we've got any student in the room today. But student learner ambassador program, reach out. Someone's probably wanting to get into the program, but again, it's another community commitment. There is a Discord server, there are activities to take part in, and when you do make it to the right-hand side, you get a foot in the door to becoming either an MVP or having mentorship from an MVP. And there's also a student accelerator that goes around Australia. We get skipped because not much happens in Adelaide. But if you are interested, we can try and make something happen. If you want to be involved, or if you know people who are in education who are wanting this kind of activity to happen, let us know. And whip around the other communities in Adelaide. So obviously, we're the IT Pro community, but we've got a user group for almost every other main domain. Note that I've hidden the security one because that doesn't exist yet, but we do have a Discord server for the SAIT folks in the room. We may try to do some online stuff, but yeah, we'll do more in person as possible. We are planning a lunch on the 2nd of October. That will come up in probably the next slide. But there's still a fair bit of stuff. We'll share these links and stuff afterwards. But there's the RSVP for the lunch with the Discord server people. But yeah, there's also one more events, a lot of development stuff. And I think the only in-person thing we've got coming up is the AI apps and agents in a day. That's here in the Microsoft office in Adelaide. Insight will be running that. So that is a full day of Azure AI and agents created with that. I've hidden a picture there, but that's all right. Cool. So what's coming for the user group? We should have Daniel Brown next month coming in live from Kubernetes because he's got his Opal AI based on Azure AI. So we can hear all about that. Tentatively, we've got Andrew Lee talking about Power Platform Release Wave 2. And hopefully after Ignite, we'll have a joint user group kind of end of year celebration thing. And then nothing for January and maybe something in January. Yeah. Whatever I just said, I don't know. QR code for a form. If you want to request any certain topics or if you want to present anytime, please let us know. We're always happy to welcome new speakers. But we should take these slides out now. But yes, there's a new podcast. So Shehan, myself, and Anthony Porter are involved in this. So it's Microsoft security stuff, light banter, updates, news, and sometimes some specific topics. And if we're lucky, we can get some guest speakers, hoping to get Ray Rays, who is part of the Purview team, coming on next month. So keep your eyes out for that. And there's the Discord server. So if you do use Discord, or if you don't, sign up. It's just people in Adelaide and SA connecting, talking about their pains, their experiences, and sharing their knowledge. Right, I'm going to start talking now. So Shehan today presenting his Zero to Hero topic.
Yes.
To give you that.
Yeah.
Do you need You did this.
John.
The laptop.
No, that's
No?
not. Yeah.
All right.
Right. So hi everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm Shehan. As I said earlier, I did the same presentation a couple of weeks ago at one of the Microsoft Learn community events. It's called Microsoft Zero to Hero. So pretty much an MVP or anyone who's basically knowing the technologies can present. So I did pretty much the kind of a long version of this one, but I'll do a condensed one. I think of the time as well. So yeah, so I'm Shehan. I'm a Microsoft Security MVP, third time MVP, an architect, so Microsoft Unified Endpoints and Identity and Machine Technology Services. So where to find me? Can scan the QR code as I mentioned earlier, and pretty much I'm mostly writing on my blog whenever I feel passionate about the technology that I'm working on, and also if you're seeing me in LinkedIn, I post every day, like every day on LinkedIn as well. I got a couple of videos in YouTube in my channel, try to explain some technologies in Intune, Defender, and whatnot. Sometimes I'm hosting X as well. So this is something which I created a couple of years ago called IntuneMaps.com. It's basically for anyone who's new to Intune or who wants to know more about Intune, they can jump onto this website and go through the links that I provided. So it's pretty much the same Microsoft Learn URLs, but Microsoft Learn can be very helpful, but it can be very messy very quickly as well if you don't know where to check from that point on. So my goal was to create some sort of like a segmented sort of a area for everything. So if you want to know more about devices, you go to devices and then you can see all those things that's related to Intune devices and whatnot. So I try to update this as much as I can. So running on version 3, because I added some Copilot in Intune, some new stuff for Windows update for business reports and stuff like that. So I try to keep it updated like every year as I go. And I've seen a lot of good reach and good comments for this website as well from the community. So I keep it up to date. That's intunemaps.com. So as I mentioned, this was the Zero to Hero thing that I did a couple of weeks ago, the condensed version of that. So what do I do when I'm not doing thinking about tech? I'm doing my Zero to Bay 12K on this Sunday, so I'm training for that. And also I'm training for my first high rocks in this December. So a lot of training stuff going on at the moment. And I'm trying to see all my favorite metal bands when they were down. I know one of my good mates who was always with me, Jordan, whenever the bands are coming into the city. And always family life as that. So yeah, that's me. So I want to discuss a bit about the why in high level for in cloud native endpoints. So whenever we're looking for a new job, for an example, we're always looking for that hybrid tag to understand, can we work from anywhere, remotely? Do we need to come to the office, and those sort of things? And from a organization's perspective, we need to they always need to provide access the security for the devices, and that's without losing the productivity. So that should be one of the key reasons why. And also, chances are you are thinking of, can we connect our device? Can we not connect devices to the AD going forward? But we still need to give the same sort of accessibility, reliability for the devices and for the users whenever they want to use our work. And also, I think we have heard this many times, legacy GPOs and basically GPOs that manage the modern devices or the devices. They can be a mess of the GPOs right now, or you have a perfectly documented GPO set of GPOs as well. Either way, GPOs, my personal understanding or personal view is GPOs got to go, because there's a lot of things that you can do from the cloud. But that can be one of the whys why you need the cloud as well. A new device preparation method maybe you're just testing Windows Autopilot at the moment, or maybe you just have your Windows, the standard SOEs coming up from a CCM, or maybe a very manual way of doing imaging at the moment. But you might need to check Windows Autopilot without any dependencies. So that can be a good reason why you need to move. So this all, and also working alongside with modern security, a lot of things that's changing every day. And to just discuss about the Teams, how Defender now can see all the dodgy URLs and stuff in Teams when someone messages, things like that. And those sort of things, and also attack surface reduction rules that are coming from Defender, and all the Defender side of things that can be added into the devices. So modern security. So that can be one of the other reasons as well. So with all, that they be cloud native endpoints. So this is what I'm going to discuss very high level. I want to discuss the story so far with the hybrid join devices and how you are managing them at the moment. Why hybrid matters. So that's one of the things I want to discuss, and pretty much architecting a cloud native strategy. It's not a big bang approach. It's not overnight. So how do you basically plan that strategy going forward? What sort of building blocks in the cloud native endpoints? What sort of things that you need to do parallelly when you are moving into the cloud native side of things? And some of the major components like device hardening, that security and authentication, and etc. Sort of like showstoppers from my experience, and some of the key takeaways as well. So the story so far with Entra Hybrid Join. I believe this is pretty much the same story in most of the organizations, probably 99% of the organizations. You got your domain joined devices, Windows devices, Windows 10, 11, probably mostly 11, I would say. And you got your GPOs applied as well. You have condition access policies now because the devices are hybrid joined. You can do some condition access policy stuff with those devices because they are managed. You have your authentication controls that's coming out from your domain controllers. That's not standard. And you have your devices have got the line of sight access into your DCs. Coming from the corporate network or from the VPN, you got access to the domain controllers in order to get the authentication done when needed. And maybe you have some on-premises file shares, or maybe SharePoint, or maybe SharePoint, something like that. So as I said, in private join, maybe you got co-managed devices. That's Intune and SCCM. If you got a config manager or SCCM running. So with the config manager, of course, there are a lot of workloads running in config manager at the moment. Maybe you're doing your imaging with SCCM, autopilot testing, because you got the co-managed situation. I'm going to discuss about that in a bit as well. Windows patching may be done by config manager, the business side of things. Maybe you have your compliance policies, mainly apps. A lot of people still using config manager just to push the apps into the devices and to do the updates onto the devices. Maybe your endpoint security and some device configuration policies as well. So that's how traditionally config manager was used and still using up to date as well. So why hybrid matters? So that's what we need to understand here as well, because that's pretty much the first gateway to the cloud. You get the immediate opportunity to use Entra features as well as Intune as well. It can be a pilot project, or it can be a POC that's running in the organization, but you will see how easily you can implement policies into the devices and start managing the devices by using those cloud native features. Device compliance policies is very important, because if you have a BYOD sort of a policy right now in your organization, compliance matters. It can be not only for the Windows device, but if you're managing, or if you don't want to get your Androids, your iOS devices accessing corporate data, for an example, or set of corporate data or something like that. So you can start using device compliance policies as well. And also with hybrid, as I mentioned earlier, they are in the managed state when it comes to Entra. So you can start pushing condition access policies saying, if the device is not managed or if the device is not hybridated joined, do not give access to, let's say, Teams or something like that. So you can go up to that level of granularity when it comes to hybrid, if you have hybrid. And also, a lot of applications are moving to cloud. That means authentication is happening via cloud, or the applications are managed by registering into Entra. So Entra SSO can be introduced. So it's easily, you can just, because the device is now managed in the cloud, you can get the primary refresh token and the access token down, get into your device, and then it will be much SSO'd via Entra. So that will be really easy when it comes to MFA, revoking users' access or blocking users' access and things like that, rather than just getting them to authenticate from different places in different methods. And also hybrid, so best of both worlds, right? So if you have a CCM, again, called GPOs as standard, you can use that from on-premises, and also you can start using your Intune policies and push the config profiles into the device as well. And also Windows Autopilot, Windows Autopatch, those sort of features can be tested. So I'm going to touch base on those areas specifically as well. So Defender policies can push straight from your Intune, because Intune has got the endpoint security part, where you can basically, when you create the policies, it will be pushed to the device and can be enforced via Defender. But you don't need a device to be Entra joined in order to get the Defender endpoint policies as well. So that's a new thing that came up very recently. Devices can be joined with the synthetic device ID. That's a whole different sort of a conversation. But yeah, if you have Intune, that's more like a bonus. You can just push easily those policies. So if you have Intune policies created, you can reuse those policies. Just a matter of changing the device groups, exclusions, inclusions if needed, when you are in the fully Entra joined situation. So it's a good way to test the policies if you want to, and make sure they are ready to go when you have like a fully Entra setup. So this is what I've seen every time. When we go to see the customers, organizations, they want the POC, they want the pilots, but they are not moving forward. They want to explore a lot, mainly because their footprint is very large, or they have a lot of legacy stuff in the environment that they can't get rid of, or if they don't know or don't have proper documentation. So if they think they move to a fully Entra joined situation or into managed situation, it might break something. So why hybrid is not end all be all? So that's the segue to get to cloud native actually. So it's not the proper mobility. So I discussed about why people are looking for hybrid, working from anywhere, working remotely, things like that. So even if you go with the Windows Autopilot in a hybrid situation is to go with the domain join. So with the domain join, the device needs to have a line of sight access to a DC. So it has to be always open, always connected VPN, something like that. Or the device needs to stay in the corporate network. So that can be a bit of a showstopper at some point. So let's say Windows Autopilot for a remote office that doesn't have DC access. So it can be again, I think for the VPNs as well. How do you want to connect? It's always very heavy dependent. You still have to think about your OUs. Say the devices have to get domain joined first and then synchronized with Entra ID. So say if someone moves a device from a OU to one OU, which is not synchronizing right now, it can delete the entry in Entra. So it can be a bit of a mess to get it up and running again, get the restoration happening. So so that's a lot of admin overhead as well. Because there are a lot of organizations where they specifically sync some OUs with the devices into Entra, but not all the devices because of the POC or pilot, whatever. And also, yes, it's a best of both worlds, but it can be something like this as well. There can be policy conflicts. Yes, there are ways that you can resolve those stuff. Another policy to say, if something like that happens, MDM wins, so not the GPO. But if you don't have those sort of setup going on, it can be a bit messy to understand what has happened, what has pushed. That happens with the GPOs and Intune. But if you have a CCM, again, you have the same set of policies, same set of configuration pushing from CCM into the device as well. So understanding those sort of stuff, again, it can be time consuming. So Entra Cloud Sync is now available with Entra, Microsoft Entra. That's basically an agent, installing an agent into your domain controllers, into your environment, and then you can start syncing users, objects, main use objects, and you can manage everything from Entra itself. The Entra Connect Sync tool was what we used, or the Directory Sync tool that we use, or still using at the moment. But if you're planning on moving to Entra Sync, which is the modern way of managing the on-premises objects, this can be a blocker because Entra Cloud Sync doesn't have device sync at the moment. It's only groups and users syncing only from on-premises to Entra. I believe this is done deliberately because Entra Cloud Sync is more modern, so they don't want to get hybrid, which is like a temporary situation into a modern tool. So that's why they haven't probably added that feature.
If you do need to use, you do need to have devices synchronizing, but you want to use the new Cloud Sync.
Yeah,
you can do both. You just target the connect to the machines, the cloud to the users, and then they both.
Yes, so this can run in parallel as well.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, yes, you can basically target your users, set of users from one tool, and then the devices from the standard sync tool. But then again, it all comes down to the management as well, like the admin overhead. So yeah, if possible, with a bit of a compromise. So building blocks of cloud native endpoints. So it's, you can say, very simple. You got your Windows 11 as a client OS. There's a modern OS that's using right now, and Microsoft Entra, identity and access, all of your authentication stuff, and Microsoft Intune as a device management feature. So on top of this, there are lots of components that you have to consider, plan, test, and then implement into your cloud native journey. So I want to stress on this one a bit. This, as I mentioned, this is not any big bang approach, overnight thing. It has to be planned. There's a lot of things that you need to do, especially if your environment has got a lot of devices into it. So very high level, you have to discover your fleet. Discovery can be from, what's your AD situation right now? How many domain controls that you got? Are they up to date? Or let's say, what's the domain level, forest level, those sort of configurations, and discussions as well. Two, there can be devices that's sitting in your cupboards right now, which hasn't connected to the AD for a while, or maybe they are not up to date, or they have a legacy OS or something like that. To start architecting, that means, what needs to go in, how do you want to plan, the technologies that's going into the devices. And the change management is very important as well. That needs to go through all the way through. because this can be a big change in an organization if you are planning on moving to cloud native. So parallel tasks planning, which I'll be touching base on some of the stuff that can be important. So very high level, GPU remodeling in Intune, that can be one thing. Applications repackaging, moving to Intune, that's very important as well. So those sort of things. Device move. How do you want to move the devices? Again, there are a couple of ways that you can do. Either when you're reimaging your devices, then you are moving to cloud, or the other option is whenever you are purchasing a new device, a new Windows device, that will be cloud native. But you don't want to lose users' productivity saying, I'm going to reimage these 100 devices today, and they'll be cloud native from this point on. So that needs to be planned as well. So discovery and discussions. So discover your current environment, as I mentioned, what sort of licensing that you got. So licensing eligible to go through the features that you want to implement in the cloud native setup. Especially Intune has got the base is plan 1 now. They got the Intune suite that has got a lot of add-ons, or you can get normal standalone add-ons as well, like remote support or remote help is an add-on. For example, if you want to get Intune native remote help feature onto the devices, that sort of things. If you want to do the device query by using KQL within Intune to understand what sort of things that's happening in the device right now, what's the hard disk space, or what's the security sort of, or maybe up to registry level, you can query from Intune, but it's an add-on. So you have to plan for that one as well. And probably how many devices that you got. It can be again devices that sitting in a cupboard, for example. And the management buy-in. So this is the case most of the time, right? So you have to build the case very diligently, because management might ask, okay, this is working right now. Why do you need to change? It's a big change. So why we need to change? So have to build your case accordingly. And if it's not broken, why we need to change? So that's why, so have to strategize it properly, have that conversation with the management, get their buy-in for this change. So again, coming back to the devices, you might have reseller agreements, procurements, your device replacement life cycles as well. So why device replacement life cycle? That's because if you are planning on going into cloud native for a new device, so then you need to understand when the date of this expiry of the current devices and things like that. So that needs to align with the project up to some level. So these are some of the things that I thought that would be important in the step 1 when you are thinking about moving into cloud native someday with all the things that you need to consider. So architecting and change management, which is very important as well. So you have to document what sort of things that will go into the new configuration, what sort of config changes that you're planning to do. It can be a new set of device restrictions, or maybe ASD or Australian Signals Directorate have their own blueprints as well. Maybe you want to push something that they have created. So it has got a whole set of configuration changes that needs to go. But that needs to be documented and also introduced parallel to what you have right now. So you build your new setup in parallel with what you have right now, and then you move your device fleet accordingly. So that's the best way of moving to cloud native, I would say. So as I said, pretty much understanding what goes on Entra, Intune, and how do you basically decommission the old infrastructure. So understanding the stakeholders is very important as well. Your CXOs, your architecture team, if you have an architecture team, and pretty much getting the approvals from those architecture teams to understand, this is what we are going to do in the future. Service desk, infrastructure team, change management, and your change champions as well. Probably the change champions will be the first people who are experienced in the cloud native, and they would say what's working and what's not working, because everything can change very soon. And also, in the meantime, you might need to do some upgrades as well. So these are environment upgrades. So it's pretty much common. It's not for a segment of users or segment of infrastructure. So these can be very big changes in your organization. If you're running on a legacy or a legacy domain level or for server, for example. So that needs to be changed. And also, if you're using config manager today, or CCM, that needs to upgrade it to the latest levels as well. So some of the parallel tasks that needs to go. SCCM, so I'll quickly touch base on this stuff. So at CCM, again, a bit of a change, because before you move to SCCM, from SCCM to Intune, you have to go through the whole managed situation to understand what will break, what will not, and how to get that experience into, especially to apps and stuff like that. You are introducing a new way of authentication. Maybe you still have that. You already have that authentication Windows Server for Business running with the Windows Server with the Entra hybrid. But Windows Server for Business, now you can get the devices to be unlocked with the PIN biometrics, as you know. So that's a new way of authentication. Can be a new way of authentication to the user. Sorry. Auto patching. So Microsoft Auto Patch, so Windows Auto Patch. So it supports OS drivers, Microsoft applications as well. That includes Edge browser teams as well. And also it has got the hot patching right now. So how do you want to test those stuff in order to get them into in a ready state for the cloud native? So Windows Autopilot, as I mentioned, the Windows device preparation method, that can be another parallel task as well. If you're planning on pushing certificates by using Cloud Peak AI, so then you have to think about getting a new license or adding an add-on, the Intune add-on for Cloud Peak AI, those sort of stuff. Device configuration profiles, what you want to configure in Intune, and probably those sort of stuff already had in the GPO. So now you have to add that in Intune. Apps via Intune is a big thing, because if you're using config manager, or if you want in a different application that's pushing applications to Microsoft, Windows devices. So you need to think about how do you push applications to Windows devices while Intune going forward. CA policies, your device compliance, that needs to be changed as well. You can introduce new device filters and things like that. GPO migration remodeling, I'll touch base in a bit. With the whole authentication, Windows Server for Business is not Kerberos aware. So you need to understand how do you basically authenticate something on-premises if you want to, because the users are still syncing from on-premises, but the devices are not joined to the local AE going forward. But there needs to be some sort of a trust in between the two entities. So Cloud Kerberos trust can be used, and what are the limitations and stuff like that. Global secure access is a whole different conversation, but you can think about those stuff as well if someone wants to access local applications remotely from anywhere. And your security baseline, that's your device hardening and endpoint security as well. So those are some things that you need to consider as parallel tasks before you fully move into cloud native. So say that you have everything in place, your policies, everything, users knows what to do, and you got your change management 100% up and running. Now you have to find a strategy how to move. So without losing the productivity, I see these two ways can be very practical. So current devices which are intra-joined, for example, when the device needs to be rebuilt, they can be, they can use autopilots and then intra-joined during that scenario. And then once the machine is rebuilt, it's a new, it's basically cloud native. it's not connected to the local domain. By that time, you got everything ready to go on that device. And parallelly, whenever you are purchasing a new device, that can be cloud native from the get-go. So you can use Autopilot Entra join at that time, and everything will be pushed into the device, and then you're good to go. So those are the 4 steps in detail that I thought that would be useful if you are planning on moving to cloud native or trying to build a cloud native strategy. So say a very high level, so it can be section, you have your hybrid endpoints today, and you're pretty much planning the strategy, as I mentioned earlier. And you're configuring your cloud native setup. Those are the parallel tasks that we need to do. And you're testing your cloud native setup as well within IT, a couple of users. For example, so change management comes in, it runs in the whole setup. And maybe you have your pilot set of cloud native endpoints, Windows devices ready to go. So at an interim stage, maybe this is a situation. You still have your hybrid endpoints, but you are slowly building your cloud native endpoints in your organization. So these can be reimaging the devices that's reimaged or and the new devices as well. At some point, again, in this journey, you can see the hybrid endpoints are getting reduced. It's shrinking because now whenever there's a rebuild, it's always cloud native. And you're having your production cloud native endpoints. And basically the goal is all of your fleet, all the Windows fleet will be on cloud native at some point, on someday, for example. So for this segment, so this is basically if you have config manager, that's what I want to touch base on this one. I'm conscious of time as well, so I'll try to condense the information as much as I can. So config manager to Intune is it's a big jump because most of the organizations today have got a very successful and working, probably free, I would say, a config manager setup. They use for all the device management scenarios, they use Intune, config manager today. So from your device imaging to applications, Windows updates, patching, whatever. So why this is a parallel task? Because this will be helpful, to decommission the config manager if you're thinking that's ready to go out of the environment. And then you can slowly start moving your devices right now. When you are ready for the Entra join phase, then you can basically pretty much moving the devices from co-manage to full Intune, and then devices to be on Intune. And then you know what to do when you're on hybrid Entra, you're on the full Entra join. So discovery of your current state, it can be your config manager situation, how many devices, what are the device groups, and things like that. Understanding the workloads that are running. As I said, there are organizations where they only use config manager to push applications. There are some organizations that use task sequence for, let's say, Windows 11 upgrades, for example, or other config policies as well. And also plan for the move. So you need to understand what are the first set of devices that are going in. So understanding the device collections is very important as well. And you are in the co-managed state of that. And then you can say, that's the best of both worlds, as I mentioned. You can get the device managed via Intune, push policies via Intune, as well as from config manager as well. And then when you're ready, you can fully move your workload situation into Intune. So it could show something like this. So if you have seen the Cloud Connect setup in config manager, when you're in a pilot state, these are the workloads that basically you are managing from both Intune and config manager. And when you are moved to Intune, you can basically just push all the switches or the sliders into Intune. So from that point onwards, all the devices in that device group will be managed by Intune, but not config manager. So that will be the segue to get the devices into Intune if you are in a co-managed, if you are in a config manager situation.
Can you actually move back to the left at all?
Sorry. Yes, you can. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But you have to make sure that
you
you need to understand what sort of configurations that you have pushed. So if you have the same policy back in config manager, so you need to make sure that's not affecting the device groups and stuff like that. But yeah, you can. So when it comes to workloads, I would say this can be the most critical one. There are so at the moment, if you're using config manager to push applications onto the devices and upgrades as well, there are a couple of ways Intune can help you. The most easiest way is the Microsoft Store, which is in Intune. So basically, you search for the app, and then everything will be filled out for you. What's the installation command, uninstallation command, and things like that. And then you have to set your user group or the device group, and then Intune will install that application, or you can push that application during the autopilot as well. Enterprise app management. So this requires the add-on in Intune Suite. So I think it started from 100 applications, if I'm correct, but now it has got more than 700 applications, heavy applications as well. So you just need to search. It's something like all the third-party products that helps you to install applications. So the same capability is now sitting in Intune. Used to do a lot of and you get stuff where if you know the tool chocolating, for an example. Yeah, so it's pretty much the same thing. Now it's in Intune, so easy to go through. But again, yeah, you need to have that add-on or you have to have the Intune license, Intune Suite license for that.
An extra cost license.
Yes, yeah. So whatever you have in E3 or E5 or Business Premium is the planned one of Intune. Right. So it counts on top of that.
About $4 just for the enterprise app management compared to $12 the whole Intune suite.
Right. Okay.
Per device.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's another. So when you go to Intune, there's another section called LOB applications, line of business applications. So they are your MSI, Apex, App Bundle, MSIX, those sort of applications. So if your app vendor provides you an MSI, it's really easy for you to upload the application into Intune. And then from that point onwards, it will, create everything for you. You don't have to do anything. But I would say it's another easy way to easily, quickly get applications into Intune. Because there's no easy way of migrating applications from SCCM to Intune. You have to rebundle or recreate the applications in Intune. The hard or the most manual task is to get the Win32 applications. There are applications where they're not sitting in anywhere, maybe your inbuilt in-house applications. So if you want to do that, if you want to wrap some files as an application and install Windows raw files, you can do that wrapping as well, for example. So you need to create that Intune Win file. So you have to use a different tool to rewrap the set of files into Windows Intune Win file and then install. So the problem that I've seen there is it's a very manual. Can be compatibility issues if you don't know the dependencies and things like that, and even the compatibility of what's lying in that set of folders, set of files in that folder as well. So that can be a challenge. And also I've seen organizations where they have a lot of Intune Win files, Win32 app style applications that has to go through a lot of rework before it actually goes into Intune. So that's one of the things which I want to touch base when it comes to workload management. So it can take some time. It can take a lot of testing as well, because you don't want to give a not working sort of a setup to the users. Applications should work how it worked on the on-premises. This is very interesting as well, GPU analytics and remodeling in cloud. So GPU analytics is basically available in Intune. So what you can do is you can get any of the GPU files. You can basically select the backup option and it will create you an XML file of your GPU. And you can upload that XML file into Intune and it will say what are the settings that are available in Intune, yes or no, and what's the supportability of Intune for those settings. And if they have the settings, you can just select the settings, create your own policy in Intune at that time. So I've seen it's very useful. I've personally used that one as well when it comes to CIS policies where you have hundreds of settings in the policies and you easily can move as well. And also I've seen some of the limitations of the policies as well. I'm going to go through those stuff right now. So this is the same thing that I mentioned. So you test, you can test it with your device groups or user groups before you basically apply it to the whole fleet. So it helps you to basically, as I said, remodeling your policies. You can add or remove more settings into it as well before you actually save the policy. So what to expect? There can be setting mismatches. I have seen the wording is sometimes changes as well. So you have to search from the keyword sometimes if it's not available. So settings catalog in Intune has got pretty much all the settings that's available in Intune today. So you can use settings catalog to recheck the settings or recheck the policy wordings. Or it can be duplicated settings. As you know, GPU can have legacy policies. Sometimes Intune doesn't have those settings or the policies. So they can be deprecated settings as well. Or you can use CSP mappings. So if your settings catalog is not providing the settings, you can come up with a CSP mapping. So that means it's still contacting the same point in the Windows OS, but you are using a manual way to contact that. So you can use that. It's called OMA URIs. So if you check Microsoft Learn, definitely you can find out how to create what sort of values that you can set up. So that's another way of setting Intune policies. If you don't have, it's in the UI. So this is pretty much the first screenshot is as soon as you upload the XML file, you can see the VM support 77%. There are some unknown settings as well. So I'm just uploading the XML file into Intune. And then you can see if the support is there, what's the CSP mapping. So this is the point in the Windows OS that actually the setting or the policy is talking to. So these are all green. That means, yes, the policies or the settings are available in Intune and what's the value, scope, and everything. If you don't have the settings, so it says it's deprecated. So you have to find a similar setting in Intune. Or let's say there's no NDM support, yes, still find out, what's the closest setting that you can have in Intune. Maybe it's a more modern way of protecting the devices and users. So that's pretty much how you bring your GPUs into cloud, test, and then implement into the devices. So say now you have your cloud native setup. What about the authentication? So at the moment, we're all using username and password. It's all Kerberos, and then that's basically how domain control works, and we all know about it. So going forward, even if you have tried this with Entra have joined or in your home environment as well, the PIN is available. If you have it, if the device has got a TPM 2.0 recommended, the PIN is basically saved in an encrypted way locally in your device, so it won't go anywhere. Or better yet, you can use your biometrics as well. So PIN, biometrics, 502 key, those sort of things. So this is a new way of authenticating to the devices for the users. there can be users who have never seen this sort of an authentication way. So it's a bit of a change. So as I said, it supports zero trust model as well. It uses PIN biometrics, face recognition, those sort of things, and PIN is basically tied to the device locally. So it plays in the passwordless phishing resistant MFA space, as you know. And also, when you're using with Intune, you can configure that to connect from the get-go when the device is ready to go from the device preparation from the autopilot. So the user preparation is what's important. Comms are very important as well for a smoother transfer, saying this is what's coming, the new way of authenticating, and get them ready as well. So those sort of very simple things. You don't need to use a password going forward. Yes, so there is a prompt where the user personally has to set the PIN or the biometrics after it's post autopilot. So they have to be ready for that one as well. If you're not allowing BYOD devices, for an example, you can create temporary access pass or tabs in Entra rather than a password. So they don't need to use a password at all. So this basically works very nicely in the passwordless side of things. And let's say if you are getting them to use a different device, yes, you can have another authentication method with the password, and then you can get them to sign in with the password if needed, because the temporary access pass is basically just one-time thing. Yeah, and only works on the first device that you're signing in the organization. So, in a very high level, this is how Windows Server for Business works. So when Intune completes autopilot, it's basically the autopilot enrollment process. So it joins the device to Entra, right? So at that time, if you have the Intune policy set up, it will trigger the Windows Server for Business configuration, and user has to go through that process to get everything sorted, get everything, create the PIN number and the biometrics if you have the device support. So it's pretty much a very high level. So Windows Hello for Business generates a key pair. The private key stays in the device in the TPM, and the public key is sent to Entra ID. So that's what it actually matches whenever authentication happens. So the signing flow is very simple. User unlocks the device by using the PIN or the biometrics. Then it sends a challenge to Entra using the private key, and it verifies because the Entra has got the public key for that. Successful, Entra issues the PRT that will be used for the device for SSO and everything from that point onwards. So with that authentication method, you can introduce more ways of conditional access policies, more creative conditional access policies, I would say. Entra supports creating authentication strengths. That means you can create. So here you can see it uses platform credentials as well as Windows Hello Business as well. So this is the conditional access policy side of things. You can grant. This is the traditional way of, or the current way of require authentication for any authentication challenge. But if you set require authentication strength, you can select one of these things. So I've created this as a custom. It's not built in, so it's custom, which I've created, and I can select that method. So it can be, an administrator elevating global administrator access. We don't want to go through the standard MFA, but we want them to go through the Windows Server for Business for phishing resistant. So you can use a custom strength for that. So that's another opportunity of going to Windows Server for Business server method. So, but Windows Server for Business is not Kerberos aware. So if you have local applications today, if the device is connected via VPN and the user is synchronized into Entra as well, how do they connect? Because the device is not AD joined anymore. So Kerberos Plus can be used. this is the most simplest way of getting it up and running within minutes. Hybrid key trust, hybrid certificate trust, it uses a lot of other resources as well. Can be, your PKI environment should be there, your certificates should be updated, you have to create new certificates in order to get that up and running. But this one is very easy. It's just running a partial command on the domain controller that you want to set this up, probably all the domain controllers, I would say. And then you can set cloud Kerberos trust. So it looks for the domain hints. Any synchronized user still got a domain hint. Say the user is coming from domain.local. Even when the user is synchronized into Entra, they still got the domain.local if you check the properties in Entra for that specific user. So it uses that domain hint when it comes to authentication. So as I said, certificate management is no longer there as they had in the other trust methods. There are some unsupported scenarios as well. So you can, with this one, users can easily do / file shares, but they can't access Kerberos applications. So there's a bit of a heavy to this one as well. So yeah, so in that way you can use your private tabs for an example, because that's Kerberos aware. So you have to have the tunnel first, and then you use Cloud Kerberos trust. So, and also this is the Intune setup, Intune setting for that. So it's very easy. The high level is user tries to access the file share. User is on the corporate network, so same network. It's basically line of sight access to the domain controller as well, but the device is not connected to the domain controller. This is the important part. So because it can't access the file share, the client device now checks for Entra Kerberos to understand this user's domain hint. The domain is domain.local. User has got the domain.local as the local domain information. With that information, the client device now requests a partial TGT. TGT is ticket granting ticket. So that partial TGT has got the user's SID for the local AD, local environment. Using that partial TGT, the device has got the DC locator service that's running within the Windows operating system. It looks for this domain.local. Because the device is also in the same network, it finds the domain.local and say, I got the partial TGT, give me the full TGT. So that's the TGT that the ticket granting ticket that requires to access the actual resource. So, and after that, the device can access. So this happens within seconds. Device can access file share. So you can also check in the command prompt if you type klist or the Kerberos list shortened for klist, you can see all the tickets that's sitting in the device for this process. So this is something you can think about when you're going to cloud native, how the authentication works into your local resources. So I've written an article about this one, got a good reach. I've seen a lot of people every day checking this article, how to configure Cloud Kerberos trust as well. So device hardening. So these are all inbuilt when you have the devices in Intune. You can use 365 apps enterprise baseline or the Windows security baseline for Windows 10 and later. They are all ready to go. The versions keep on updating as well. So the latest is 24H2. 25H2 will probably land soon, I would say. And got the other stuff as well for the other features. So at a very high level, this accesses. So this talks about all the possible security points in the Windows OS. There are some gotchas as well. So before that, yeah. So as you can see, it talks about smart screen, your privacy, search, user rights, task scheduler, and everything. So this has got a set of it's pre-built. The settings are all pre-built, enabled, blocked, whatever, according to Microsoft, and we can customize if you want to.
Is this aligned to some sort of framework that NIST or CIS?
Yeah, actually, no. They have specifically mentioned that in their Learn document as well, saying yes, there's CIS, there's NIST, SD, but this has pretty much configured according to their security security experts. So that's what they say. But what you can do is when you adopt this sort of a policy, you can customize the policies, the settings according to CIS. So that option is available as well. And also coming to device hardening, think about your BitLocker encryption. Maybe your BitLocker is running at the moment from on premises. So how do you want to move that to Entra? Intune, the Windows labs may be running from on premises today. How do you basically migrate or recreate the same set of things, Windows labs as well? The good thing is Windows labs now can randomize your admin username as well as admin password. Obviously, admin password is all there, but you can get it to randomize the admin username as well, which I think is really cool for Windows labs. Your conditional access policies. There can be device restriction policies as well. For an example, this department doesn't need to access the camera. So how do you segregate those sort of things? You have to think about those stuff as well. There can be specific Edge browser policies now. Edge for business is available. So how do you want to manage those sort of stuff for Intune? If you are running on Defender, E5, Defender attacks, the attack surface reduction rules are available. So how do you want to plan for them? You can't set it to block mode straight away. It has to be tested first. But there's a lot of user noise can create. So how do you want to test those stuff? I'll think about those things as well. When doing the device hardening, definitely need to test. At least get a test group, check all the policies if it's working or not. You might find out that you have a lot of legacy stuff running in your organization without your knowledge. I have seen this specifically, stuff like SND1, version 1 still running. When the policies are set, it blocks SND1, so users can't access the shares, those sort of things. So you have to think about those sort of activities as well. Settings are tattooing in Windows, so that's that has happened forever. Whenever you set a GPO or a Intune policy, the settings are tattooing in your OS. So if you go and delete the policy saying I don't want this policy anymore, that setting will not change. So how do you want to get back to the configured state, for example, before you change it to a different policy? So you have to change those sort of check those sort of stuff as well. So they can be, I have seen the Defender policies more than 3 places in Intune. So if you enable your baseline policies, chances are the same policies are sitting in your antivirus settings as well. So that can overlap, and also that can go into conflicts errors as well. So you have to think about those sort of stuff. Because now the devices are interjoined, so you can have your device filters in conditional access policies. If the trust type is interjoined, do this. Give access to the SharePoint, for example. Or the other one. On the other side, you can say exclude. So BYOD can be managed if the device is not interjoined. Do not give access to corporate resources. Simple. Or if the device is compliant, now that you have your compliance policies, you can say if the device is not compliant, it can be interjoined, that's fine. But if it's not compliant, do not give access to this portion of corporate resources, something like that. And also, it's always good to have this. This is now on general availability on GA. So the token is always bound to the device. Even if someone gets your ticket trying to replay, like a hacker, they can't replay and they can't authenticate on behalf of yourself because the token is always bound to your device. So this is a stick that you need to do. It won't break anything. Just provide more security on your devices and your users. So yeah, so compliance-based and device join-based condition access policies can be introduced. I'm conscious of time as well, so I'll just run through the auto patch. So with auto patch, once the devices are onboarded into Windows Auto Patch setup, you can manage your feature updates, quality, that means your security, your patch user stuff, driver updates as well. So driver updates are coming from the vendor, not from Microsoft. So can be trusted in a way that it might not break. Your Microsoft products, that means your 365 apps, your Teams, and your Edge browser, those sort of stuff. And hot patching is available. So you can hot patch devices without rebooting. They can be critical devices that can't be rebooted. So hot patching can be used for those stuff as well. So whenever your tenant is onboarded, it will create the rings for you. So it's pretty much no one is approving or declining the updates like how we did in WSUS. It's all Windows, it's all ring based. If you know Windows Update for Business, the same scenario, but it's auto managed by Microsoft itself. You can have your test ring, you have your pilot, and maybe your production ring or rings going forward for Windows devices. So same thing I mentioned earlier, device registration. So device registration can be done manually or dynamically, depending on the groups that you want to provide. It will segment the devices into groups. It will give you a readiness report as well to say, I got 100 devices, only 75% of them are ready to go. So you can say, okay, this stuff, operating system problems or something like that. So you can check for those stuff with the readiness report. And then you can get the auto patch to take over the device patching. So the good thing about auto patch is rollback is easy because you have gaps between the rings. So it's not, the next ring will happen soon after the test. So it will create the gaps very strategically, or you can change as well if you want to. So there's always a rollback window. There are Microsoft SMEs who are supporting the auto patch. It's not you are doing a support call to Microsoft. There are dedicated people who are looking at Windows Update stuff and helping you to get those stuff up and running if you have issues. And they do regular notifications as well, because like how a patching team would help an organization to update the Windows patches, the same thing would happen in Windows Auto Patch as well. Regular notifications about updates, any advisories, stuff like that. And also, you have a service health dashboard, how the Windows Auto Patch from Microsoft is going, so you can check the health of those as well. So this is a screenshot of two rings. I got the test and the last update policy for Windows Auto Patch. Was the deferral and everything. So this is more like a complaint that I would like to make. I've seen third-party tools which does Windows updates as I got like good reporting, very nice colorful graphs and stuff. So basically understand what's going on with your Windows fleet. Windows Auto Patch or Windows Update for Business for that matter, it doesn't have that at the moment. It has got some reporting, but not the one that most of the other vendors would have. So you can adopt a log analytics workspace to do that. But to do that, you have to have your Azure environment up and running. You have to have your log analytics workspace manually created. So you have to pay for that. And also, depending on the number of the data that streams in log analytics, you have to pay as well. But you can easily adopt a pre-created workbook from Microsoft. That's the only bonus I would say. But it's all manual if you want to go beyond in reporting to understand how your devices are going. And also major updates like Windows 10 to 11 can be done very conveniently as well when you have Windows Auto Patch, same as Windows Update for Business. And also Windows Update for Business today is available with GPOs as well. So if you're trying that on Entra, there's something that you need to change in your registry, because it's looking at your Windows, the GPOs and your other servers in order to get those updates. So you go and manually change those stuff. So it will start looking at Intune, but not your on-premises. So this is more into admin side of things. Now you have your Intune up and running, got a lot of policies maybe. So you have to think about your RBAC as well. So this is very important when it comes to zero trust also. So there can be, help desk, service desk, however you want to call them, or maybe system administrators or systems engineers who does the stuff. So you need to align, or maybe you have corporate other like your device fleets running in different countries. They have their own administrators. You want them to see only their devices as well. So how do you do that? Those sort of stuff. So scope tagging is important. And also Entra admin units if you want to use those stuff. So again, another way of segmenting the devices. Something like the ADOUs, we call them Entra AUs or Entra admin units. So we can now segment them, give access to the give hybrid administrator, those sort of roles into those scopes. So whoever that's actually an administrator of that scope will have that role. So very easy, we can get the just enough access sort of a situation. And also Entra RBAC as well. Intune administrator, cloud device administrator, those sort of stuff can be highly privileged. For example, Intune administrator can do anything in Intune. So how do you want to manage that? You can use Entra PIM, for an example. Just enough access, and just-in-time access. So we have to think about all those stuff again. Now that you are planning on cloud native, because everything will be on cloud, everything will be managed by Intune and Entra going forward. So some other considerations. Few more slides go. Compliance. If you're thinking about device compliance, you have to think about, this is a device has got secure boot. What's the operating system version that you want to use? AV requirements, TPM requirements, things like that. And depending on the defender machine risk score, you can say if the score is not up to this level, the device is not compliant. So you can go up to that level as well. So how do you set up those integrations between other products? So that's very important. And if you have BitLocker policy, yes, you can say minimum. If you have BitLocker policy, device can be counted as compliant. So if you still got applications, so you think about a proxy, for an example, or Entra GSA, private apps, forwarding profiles and configuration, as I mentioned earlier. And if you have legacy applications, legacy authentication applications, move them to modern auth sort of applications, or modern auth methods as well. So that can be another win because you are trying to get away from the legacy stuff. Printing, not going a lot on this one. Universal print can be used. Again, I think universal print is a license, additional license included, but it only does very basic. Yeah, it's not up to the mark, I would say. But yeah, it's included in the license, sorry, yeah. And if you have like a follow me printer, that sort of a config, then you have to create those policies in Intune as well. But the thing is, it needs to have the network access, those sort of things that you consider. They're not showstoppers, but I would say things that need to test, understand what sort of caveats that they got. So radius and Wi-Fi can be a big thing, but there's no support for radius when you're on Intune. So if you want to think about cloud PKI stuff to issue certificates by using Intune, of course you have to have that add-on as well. So that sort of things you have to consider, or go to enterprise Wi-Fi or something like that. So Intune can issue the certificate for it. On-premises shared drive mapping, chances are you still have your shared drives. So you have to create your policies in Intune. There are ways that you have to that you actually create the actual settings or the configurations in Intune. So you have to adopt that, make sure it's working, authentication is working going forward. So you have everything. Now, discussed about a lot of stuff. Now we have everything. Now, how you migrate from hybrid to enterjoin. So that's where coming back to the step 4. So you have your solution tested, it's all good to go. Now you are thinking of, okay, I'm rebuilding these devices, so that will be on cloud native going forward. Or any new device coming in, you can get the reseller to register those devices in Intune. So device registration with the hardware hash, and then get them into Intune Autopilot and to join. So that's pretty much. So with the new SOE, it's not not the same as SCCM. So it does not have an image push as how we do in Intune in SCCM or by using third-party tools. It will not be done via local LAN. So device needs to have vanilla OS going to be able to go run the autopilot. Some vendors like Dell, they know they have that autopilot ready OS without all the junk. That's usually coming with the Windows OS. So we have discussed those stuff with the actual vendors as well. So during the device prep, yes, you can say, so the idea of the device prep is not to install all the 100 applications that you have and give it to the user. The main goal is to give a working device, a company branded device to the user, and from that, as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. And from that point onwards, you have the baseline. From that point onwards, all the other applications configuration will be, downloaded to the device. So, as I said, it's all corporate owned and capable of the NPM standards. So to do that, you need to have that healthy device replacement process, discussing with the documents, resellers, and whatnot. So as I said earlier, that's the goal. So idea is to give the device as soon as possible with the right level of security and access, and then you push the other applications and policies going forward accordingly. So at a very high level, everything that we discussed on this side, we have our autopilot version 1 or version 2. Version 1 is the standard way of getting the device registered. Version 2 is Version 2 is basically getting the device identifiers. It's very easy and very quick if you compare with the version 1. So in this way, there will be no malicious devices getting registered. Admin knows what devices are coming in and nothing other than that. And also it's more controlled if you want to have BYOD as well. And also the rest will be onto the user. They just sit there, go through the login process, and then everything will be ready for them. Or IT can still complete them as a bulk. So this is the standard image that I got from Microsoft. IT admin, they can send or the reseller can send the hardware hashes into the cloud, into Intune. The device will be there, and then you have the autopilot policy or the profiles running. And when the device sent to the user, they'll have it logging in. Everything will be downloaded, set for the user ready to go. So everything can be done easily, and user can start using the device easily if they don't have any dependencies with the local AD or with the local environment. So some key benefits, I think we have seen many places. Zero touch provisioning, so seamless user experience as well. Device controls, admin can do the reset, wipe, reboot, etc. Remote help as well if you have that license. It's zero trust from the get-go, so you have set up your Windows head of business and compliance console, compliance policy and stuff like that. So testing, I'll quickly touch base on this one as well. I think I've talked about the testing everywhere. So it's basically comes down to this stuff. No disruption in the user productivity going forward once they have a new device in the new cloud native device. You may have different use cases for different departments. Finance might have different use case compared to a different, like marketing, for example. So those sort of things you may have to create different policies, different segment them accordingly. So you have to think about those stuff as well. Understanding the limitations as we discussed in a couple of places. Configuring and testing the features is very important as well. Legacy settings you may still have that maybe you don't know for some reason. Now that they're not there, they can cause problems. So you have to understand those stuff. Deployment rings is recommended when you have that set up, and then if you want to do more application installations, more policy testing, stuff like that, so you can have your deployment rings for that one as well. Test ring start from IT pilot, your champions. Broad can be work with the pilot users because they are your early adopters, change champions. So most probably, test with the IT team in most cases. But yeah, you can get a lot of insights from pilot users or early adopters. So any showstoppers. So no proper comms can be a problem. It should start from the very first step onwards. Otherwise, it can be a problem. Critical apps still on legacy authentication modes, so you need to make sure you get decommission those authentication methods, get them to more modern methods in order to support cloud authentication, cloud native methods. Poor change management process, change champions is required. So those sort of things. Management by initial. So coming back to the same old question again. I think understanding device replacement life cycles, lifecycle management is important as well. So that can be a showstopper at some point. So before I forget, key takeaways, and before I finish off my presentation. So there's no big bang approach. There's no a lot of parallel things that needs to be done, tested, rolled out, and then go to parallel tasks. Understand the limitations is very important as well. And if there's no Microsoft related solution for that, then you have to go for a different sort of solution in order to get that up and running. So that will complement what you want to implement the cloud native. So it's a good chance to move from your legacy apps, legacy authentication, legacy methods to more modern methods. Testing is important, as I mentioned a couple of times. Change champions, your use cases, very important to understand the environment. Deployment rings for policies going forward, test pilot, prod, or production. And also, if you don't have a proper device replacement lifecycle, it's time to get one, formalized as well. So that's pretty much it about the cloud native endpoints and how you basically move your journey to cloud native from on-premises. So this is something which I've written in my blog. There's a specific area called cloud native endpoints in my blog, emsroute.com. So the same things which I mentioned, I added them very in detail here. Planning to add more sections as I go as well. So I just write whatever the stuff which I've discussed here as well. And thank you.
Thanks, Shehan, for sharing.
On time.
No, that's all right. Not getting down, right? Yeah. Thanks for the high-level overview on getting on your cloud native environment.
Yes.
I tried to edit this. It worked. I did some cheeky slides adding. Did forget to mention this earlier. There are new licenses available now for APR on Endpoints. This is premium. There are new Defender and Purview suites. So earlier in the year, there was the E5 security and E5 compliance bundles made available business premium. I thought they were a bit pricey for what they were, and they weren't combined with things. So now they've got new Defender suite. That's the wrong order. That's the Defender and Purview suite. So you've got all the good stuff from B2 in Defender for on Office, identity panels, Entra ID, and then you've also got the
nice things. It's on the risk management, information protection governance, discovery and audit. That's all in USD, but you can see there's a significant cost saving there if you're on business premium, and you pretty much, you're getting all the features almost omni by your price points for me here somewhere instead of 100 plus. I think that's going to show you get ones there. So you get standalone Purview Suite. There's pricing is not quite as appealing, but half of that one. And then there's the okay. I don't know what happened there, but that's what happens when you use PowerPoint online. Strange things happen. But yeah, thanks for coming this month. QR codes again. If you want to connect with us on LinkedIn. But yeah, look forward to seeing you again in a few weeks' time for our October meetup. But if we don't see you before that, make sure you keen on the lunch with the SAIT Connect group. Sign up for that, and we may see you soon. For any questions and follow-up discussions, I think we can go back to the lobby area. They should kick us out from there. And there's stickers out here if you'd like to partake. Yeah. Thank you. See you.